Hey guys, it is Carly here bringing you episode number 15 of my entire horror movie collection. As I said in the previous video, I wrapped up all the Blu-rays and now I am getting into the box sets slash VHS slash books, and I was going to just go from the box sets right into the VHS just because I have a grand total of 5 box sets here, but I figured I would just make a, sort of shortened video where I just show off the box sets and, kind of talk about what's in them and then get into the VHS in the next video. So just thought that would be easier and a little more organized. So just going to go ahead and get right into it. I just have these, in alphabetical order based on the movies that they're on. And first up we have the Amityville horror box set here from Scream Factory. This is the newest one I have. JP actually got me this for my birthday this year, which was very cool of him. Pretty nice set. You have Amityville 1, 2, and 3 here. I had never seen 2 and 3, so I was actually pretty excited to get this because I am a pretty big fan of the original movie, and I also like the remake, honestly. I know some people don't like it, but I actually am a pretty big fan of the remake as well. But other than that, I wasn't really familiar with the Amityville film, so I was excited to check out part 2 and 3, especially part 2, because I know a lot of people say that one is better than the first one. And, gotta say, Amityville part 1, I love it. It's probably one of my favorite horror movies, probably would be in like a top 15 list or so, maybe top 20 rather. It's not one I rewatch a whole lot, but every time I watch it, it still holds up as far as creepiness goes. It still really creeps me out, and I feel like the atmosphere is just really dark and eerie. Part 2, watched it, and gotta say, I really enjoyed it, but I did not like it as much as I was expecting to like it. It was a little disappointing for me. I don't know what it was. I feel like it's supposed to still be kind of that dark sort of atmosphere, and you're dealing with the DeFeo family. And for one thing, I didn't like how I was under the impression it was going to be a real reenactment, sort of true story, I guess, on the family, but they really changed it up. They changed the names and even the number of kids and stuff like that. I know they have to do that for the sake of the movie because what happened in the movie is definitely over-dramatized compared to what actually happened in real life with the dude killing his family and all that. But at the same time, I don't know, I just wasn't as impressed with it as I thought I would be. But with that being said, I still thought it was a really good movie. I found it to be a little more fun than the first one. I know it still has that, it's supposed to still be kind of dark and deal with very dark topics, but I didn't find it to be as atmospheric, I guess you could say, as the first movie. So that's kind of how I feel on that. I still think I gave it like an 8 out of 10. I just did not like it as much as I was expecting. And then Amityville 3D here, pretty awful, I'm not gonna lie. It's only rated PG, and it's very, very boring. I could not pay attention to it. I kept falling out of it. It was just like, I was trying to give it a fair chance, but I was just pretty bored by it. I am curious to check out other Amityville films in the franchise eventually, just because there are so many of them, and I know some of them aren't as bad as others, but yeah, the first 2 pretty solid films, part 3 not so good. After that, we have the House box set here. JP actually got me this, I think, for my 20th birthday, so over a year ago now, and I think this is pretty awesome. I've never seen the House movies growing up or anything like that. I know a lot of people have watched House and stuff like that when they were younger. It was one that I would always see at like Hollywood Video and be curious about just based on the cover, but I just never picked it up for whatever reason, never really wanted to rent it, so I did not see it until I actually got this box set from JP. This is the Arrow box set. It's I only got the 2 movies. I know some of them come with all 4, and then it also has the book here as well, and I gotta say I'm really pleased with this. The quality of the films is just great. It makes me want to pick up more Arrows because I actually don't own any other Arrow films as of now because, to be honest, I'm pretty cheap and they're just way too expensive for my taste, but I will eventually start building on that collection because, you know, I have started picking up like Scream Factories and Vinegar Syndromes and those other companies. So Arrow is definitely on my list to pick up more films because I thought these transfers were pretty great. And so House 1 and House 2 I think are both pretty fun movies. I definitely preferred Part 1 a lot more than Part 2. I will say Part 2 gets a little too goofy for my liking. Once there's a limit to how much goofiness I can really take, and I do like fun movies, but if they get a little over the top for me, I just kind of don't get as into them as I would like. But House Part 1, it's has some silly moments. It's fun. It's got some parts that are kind of scary with the effects and stuff like that, and I think it's just a pretty solid movie, and definitely one that I wish I would have watched when I was younger because I know I would have really dug it back then, but I am glad to be familiar with it now, and it's definitely one that I will definitely be going back to as time goes on. So this is a pretty awesome box set, probably one of my favorite things in my collection right now, to be honest. Next up, we have this random ass I Know What You Did Last Summer DVD trilogy box set here. You get part 1, 2, and 3 all in this box. I think my mom actually picked this up back in the day whenever I remember when we first transitioned from VHS to DVD player because we were always we didn't have that much money when I was growing up, so we kind of were always behind on the time. So we finally got a DVD player, and my mom was trying to pick up all the horror movies and just movies in general that we had on VHS, and this is one of the things she picked up because we did have part 1 and part 2 on VHS, and I really enjoyed these movies growing up. Nowadays I still like part 1 quite a bit. Upon rewatch, part 2 is definitely not that great. I could see why people really kind of hate on it. Part 1, though, I think is an okay movie. It doesn't have the best acting, and the story's kind of convoluted, but I actually really enjoy part 1, and it came out the year I was born, I believe, so that's, saying something. But then I'll Always Know What You Did Last Summer is one that I think I started to watch, or I did watch when I was younger, but I didn't remember any of it, so I rewatched it recently, and to me it just feels like a very, very lame remake to the original film. It wasn't overly horrible or anything like that like I was expecting, but it definitely wasn't great. It felt like you're just rewatching more of the same, especially if you watch all the films sort of in a row, which is what I did recently, or not recently, about a year ago or so. But anyway, yeah, this box set, kind of random, kind of beaten up, but I've always held on to it, and it's kind of cool to have. Then we have the Sleepaway Camp Survival Kit box set. This is not the one with the Red Cross or anything, unfortunately. I didn't realize that these box sets were kind of hard to find at one time, and I knew a friend of my mom's actually gave this to her to give to me when I was younger, and I thought I had lost it during whenever I moved out. We moved a few times when I was younger, and also I moved out to, live on my own, so I thought this was long lost, but whenever my mom was moving out of her place last year, I kind of searched around, and that's where I found most of my VHS collection, and I also found this, so I was really, really excited because this is an awesome box set to have that I did not really know about growing up or anything like that. I just thought, oh, it's another box set. I didn't really care or anything like that, but you get all the DVDs here. It is a DVD set, and it's these movies I do enjoy. I wouldn't say I enjoy part 2 and 3 as much as part 1. I know a lot of people like those movies and find them to be very fun, and I would agree they are very fun sequels, but I do prefer part 1 just because I like how it's a little more on the darker side. It's definitely cheesy, especially nowadays when you watch it, and just some of the weird stuff going on in it. It's just very cheesy and odd and bizarre, but I feel like it's not trying as hard to be that way as the sequels are. The sequels just kind of go a little overboard, but with that being said, I do rewatch all these movies quite a bit, at least once a summer, so I am happy that I found this box set. Then lastly, guys, we have the Twisted Terror collection here, which is 5 random DVDs. I think these are all Warner Bros, and they were kind of movies that were kind of hard to find, I believe. That's kind of like the theme going on here. You get Eyes of a Stranger, Deadly Friend, Dr. Giggles, Someone's Watching Me, From Beyond the Grave, and The Hand. JP actually gave me this one too. I think it might have been a Christmas present 2 years ago or so, and this is actually pretty cool, honestly. I'm glad to own this. The box is a little bit flimsy, but the movies you get in it are all enjoyable. Oh, I'm sorry, you get 6 movies. I think I said 5, but anyway, movies are all pretty enjoyable. Really enjoyed The Hand. Dr. Giggles, I could take it or leave it. It's a little overly cheesy for my liking, but still a pretty solid movie, especially I believe it's from the 90s. I think it's a 90s slasher, so you know, not a lot was really coming out good around that time, so it's okay. And then Someone's Watching Me, I enjoyed. It was John Carpenter's flick before he came out with Halloween, actually. It's one that is a lesser known movie of his, and you could definitely see how it kind of inspired Halloween, because you have sort of this woman who's being stalked and whatnot, so it's pretty cool. From Beyond the Grave is an anthology film that I really did not care about. That was definitely my least favorite out of this box set. It's an older, probably from the 60s, I believe. Like I said, it's an anthology film, and I don't know, I just couldn't care for it. I was just so bored watching it. I was also really tired that night, so that might have played a factor, but you know, I like to give older movies a chance, but I was just very bored, and some of the stories I didn't really even understand what was going on in them. Donald Pleasance is actually in it, oddly enough, but I know a lot of people say it's a classic and they really enjoy it, but it really was not for me. After that, you get Deadly Friend, which is a Wes Craven film, and that one's pretty cheesy. Definitely not one of his best or anything like that, but I still found it to be pretty fun. Then lastly, Eyes of a Stranger, I thought was pretty solid. You got Jennifer Jason Leigh. She plays a blind and deaf girl in this film, and it takes place in like this apartment, and I believe there's like a killer or someone who's going around, and Jennifer Jason Leigh's sister is like getting kind of scared that this man's gonna like find her and her sister. It's been a while since I watched it, but I remember really enjoying it as well. So all these movies, I like 5 out of the 6 of them, so it's pretty cool to have, especially since they're all totally different movies. It's not just like a franchise or anything like that, so I'm happy to have this one as well. Would like to get me some more box sets because they're just cool to put on display, and it's nice to have a bunch of movies that you like just in a box set type of format. So yeah, that is it for my box set show off here, guys. This video actually turned out to be kind of long either way because I talk a lot, but sorry about that. So yeah, next time I make a video, I will get into the VHS collection, which has grown significantly over the year, so that should be fun. Thank you guys for joining me for episode 15, and I will see you in episode 16.